Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Hannity presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy, champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Hannity. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Hannity. Hannity, bring it on.
All right, thank you, Scott Shannon, and thanks to all of you for being with us. Write down our toll-free telephone number. It's 800-941-SEAN. If you want to be a part of the program, if you are not near a television, let me describe the scene. Maybe about 20, 30 minutes ago, President Trump, Air Force One, landed here. We are broadcasting this radio program from Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska. This is where the summit has taken place between President Trump and Vladimir Putin. And in the last 6-7 minutes or so, Vladimir Putin has touched down. Let me give you a quick rundown of what we expect the day to be like. Is Air Force One arrived, and sure enough, Vladimir Putin has arrived. President Trump has not come off Air Force One. He's, I have the whole schedule. This is all planned out literally to the minute, so you know what the day's going to be like. Now, there are many unpredictable things that can happen. There's no guarantee this meeting will last more than 5 minutes. Remember, President Trump said, I think I'll know in 2 minutes if he's serious. I don't think Putin would be here if there's not some level, desire, interest in coming to some agreement. And President Trump has been very smart about how he's managed expectations about all of this and how this is a first step, and that the next step, if in fact Putin is really willing, he's going to make that determination. He says he may know within 2 minutes. That's being able to read a room, I'll tell you that part. I wonder what he thinks of me when he sees me, before the interview that I'm about to do with him tonight. He'll size me up in a minute and a half. I'm like, that's it, Hannity, you're out. Anyway, I'll go through the itinerary for you just so you know. The meeting between, they're both going to come off the plane. Here's President Trump, as a matter of fact. Now, again, this is all planned, all orchestrated. President Trump is making his descent down Air Force One. And, I would not be surprised any second now if you saw Vladimir Putin do the same thing. And I can tell you right now, I'm in an airport hangar. If I were to walk out this door and into the hangar and walk to the end of the hangar, I'd be watching this live. That's how close we are to what was actually happening here. Vladimir Putin now is coming down. I think that's Vladimir, comrade, how are you? Vodka. Again, all of this predetermined, all of this orchestrated. So this is what they call a spray, where the two men will meet. And what they'll immediately do is, and they both have a red carpet that they're walking on, and they will then have a private meeting. As I understand it, it'll be the two of them alone, probably with interpreters. Although Putin does speak English, is my understanding. And then they will have a series of breakout meetings that will take us to about, anywhere between 5, 6 o'clock. Then they're going to have, at some point in between, they're expected to have lunch together. And when all is said and done, and this is maybe scheduled for about 7:30 tonight, this evening, they would have a joint press conference. We don't know for sure. I mean, again, that's going to be fluid as well. And at that point, immediately after that press conference, I will go up live. It might be a few minutes early before 9, so you might want to, be watching at like 8:45 or 8:50. I will have the first exclusive sit-down interview with President Trump to find out how this whole day works out. You could see President Trump. He's greeting the troops. He's clapping to some group of people. I'm not sure who. Probably, I would assume, the troops. I had the great opportunity to meet a lot of people that are here serving our country at Joint Base Elmendorf Richardson. There's the handshake and a flyover with what sounds like some fighter jet. And they're smiling, looks friendly, shaking hands, walking down the red carpet together. And President Trump is significantly taller than Vladimir Putin. I don't know if that means anything. I remember one time I was mad at President Trump over something. It was during his first campaign. I said, all right, just sit down. As soon as he sat down, I stood up. Because I did, because I wanted to get his attention, because I was telling him something that I felt was important in the moment. But optics matter. If I were to give you an overall, if you read the room, body language, very relaxed, both sides, a lot of smiles. So maybe not a bad indication. It's actually on a delay, which, just so you know, the feed, because they both looked up in the air. They're now standing. It says Alaska 2025. I don't know if they're F-35s behind them. I don't. It is F-35s. Okay, there are 2 F-35s behind them. And last night, I don't know, did you see the shot where we had the AWACS plane behind me? How cool is that on TV? And it says Alaska 2025. And I believe is one American? No, they're all American. They're all American. I met kids that are serving here from all over the country. All right, so they had the quick photo op. The Beast is there. That is the presidential limousine, and it looks like Vladimir is getting inside the Beast. When I was in the Gulf States, I got to go in the Beast as part of my interview and experience with President Trump. The doors are thicker than anything you've ever seen in your entire life. And I will not reveal secrets I may or may not have learned about that. What's interesting is, well, I guess because it's on American territory. It's in Alaska. That's why they're doing that. And so, again, all of this is orchestrated. The spray is over. Trump and Putin now will go into a meeting. The breakout sessions will then follow up with that. I'm sure a lot of the breakout sessions will result in, first, let's cue you into what we discussed, and then let's take it a step further and a best case scenario. Now, how do we define success here? There's so much to tell you about the lead up to all of this. There's some rays of hope, and then there's some dose of reality. In the lead up to today, for example, we know Ukraine attacked multiple cities in Russia just yesterday, and we know that the Russians had also attacked. We know the Ukrainians also hit a Russian oil refinery last night in airstrikes, and similarly, we know that the Russians have been pounding Ukraine. And so, both sides, I think, doing it for some type of advantage. Maybe they think it's some type of negotiating advantage. I don't really know. But Ukraine last night struck an oil refinery in Russia's Samara region in an overnight attack. Ukrainian forces also hit a Caspian seaport, cargo vessel. The war is ongoing. There's not a ceasefire. So both sides are doing the same thing. In Alaska, it was interesting. I saw two contingencies. One is a bunch of leftists that were protesting, and another group, several hundred people, gathering for a pro-Ukraine rally here in Anchorage, where the president is, and with hundreds of Russian soldiers. I mean, both sides, both Ukraine and Russia, both sides have, they have been fighting, now for going on 3 years. And if anyone would have told me Ukraine would still even be in the game, I wouldn't have believed it. Now, for the most part, it became a proxy war between Joe Biden's administration and Russia. Now, there are certain things that have happened that I think really got Putin's attention. First of all, I think there is a genuine relationship between the two of them. I don't think this is like a lot of other summits where there's a predetermined outcome. I don't really see that here. But if you look at, for example, the fact that the president kind of has gotten fed up with Putin and him dragging his feet, and he's trying to push this thing along, and he's put a lot of political capital into this, I think finally said, okay, fine. If you're going to be difficult and you're going to continue to attack innocent women and children, we're going back. We're going to arm Ukraine, although President Trump is doing it differently than Joe Biden did, is he's selling the weapons. The second thing that I'm certain got Russia and Putin's attention is the EU trade deal, where close to $1 trillion Europe is now committing to purchasing American energy. That's money coming directly out of Putin's pocket. The heart and soul of Russia's economy is energy. The fact that the European Union has been purchasing so much energy from Vladimir Putin has actually worked against them because they're funding his war machine in the process. Another big part of this is the tariffs that President Trump put on India if they continue to buy Russian oil. And when the president says over and over again there will be severe consequences if Putin doesn't make a deal here, he's not talking about going to war with Russia. He is basically saying he's going to do everything in his power to prevent Russia from being able to sell their energy, which will just devastate their economy. The last thing that I'm sure got Putin's attention is President Trump was able to get NATO to double their commitments. So all of this is happening simultaneously as we continue our coverage. It's going to be an interesting day for me. I mean, the show's going to be a little bit more fluid than normal, and we'll get some expert analysis. But, for the most part, for the next 2 hours, they're disappearing in a room, and I'll try to work some sources and find out yay or nay and see if, I can get any indication. But Russia's paid a very dear price, too. Radio Free Europe had a piece out. After mounting losses in Ukraine, the Russian government appears to be intensifying their coercive recruitment tactics. They're now having to target prisoners as conscripts and ethnic minorities from remote regions, as well as Central Asian migrant communities. Remember, they've also been importing fighters from North Korea. And according to testimonies collected by Radio Free Europe, male inmates in prisons and parts of Siberia describe routine beating, psychological torture, threats aimed to force them into military service. And then on the other hand, then you have reports that there might be, President Zelensky is taking guys that are over 60 years old to go fight this conflict. I mean, nobody's doing great here. Nobody's winning in this. There's no winners and have been no winners here. Fortune magazine pointed out Russia's coming financial crunch could derail Putin's war machine. Yeah, well, okay, the Kremlin's oil and gas revenue, their main source of revenue, tumbled 27% in July from a year ago to 787.3 billion rubles to about 9.8 billion, or about down 9.8 billion. That's a lot of money, especially if you're trying to fight a war. And it's probably about to go down significantly more. Now, what is the end game? All right, more important, let me give you what the reality is. All right, let me keep it real here, because the best case scenario coming out of today would be they have a good meeting, They agree to the meeting that Donald Trump has called for and add Zelensky. The idea that European countries that have enriched Putin are trying to tell Donald Trump how to negotiate is a joke to me because they themselves have compromised their own security. So if that, in fact, happens, and and President Trump has said he wants that next meeting very quickly, okay, at that point, then what are we really dealing with? Okay, well, Putin's going to retreat, and he's going to go back to Russia. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a very complicated needle to thread that will involve land swaps, but also what Putin doesn't want to give Ukraine, which is security guarantees, so there won't be a third invasion. What's the point of doing this? And what? You get a Democratic president in next time and you get another conflict? That's not a win to me. All right, I'll give you what the most likely outcome and scenario is here in a second. Anyway, we continue. We are at Joint Base Elmendorf, Richardson. We're in Anchorage, Alaska. We're literally feet away from where Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump are. I do have the first interview with President Trump tonight. Hannity, Fox News. Hope you'll tune in and watch that. That's going to be very interesting. I love knowing what's going on behind the scenes. What happened? Tell me the real secret. Did Vladimir eat anything? One of the more interesting things in one of the Kim Jong-un summits was to find out that nobody in the delegation of North Korea ate a bite of food. They must have thought it was poisoned. And at the time, Tucker Carlson went in and started grabbing the desserts and handing them out. True story. Listen, if you're with Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, the big carriers, you are overpaying for wireless, period, end of sentence. Now, the beauty of Pure Talk, a veteran-owned company, my cell phone company, is, guess what? They use the same 5G network as the big carriers. You get the same exact coverage. They have the same, cell towers that they use, and the average family saves over $1,000 a year. Why are you paying all this money for retail stores that you're never going to and perks that you're never going to use? With Pure Talk, for example, you can get unlimited talk and text, plenty of data. It's only $25 a month. All right, that's less than half of what the big carriers charge. That's a lot of money to save. If you're a business, you'll save even more. Make the switch. It's simple. It's fast. It's easy. Dial pound 250 on your cell. Say the keyword save now. If you do it now, you save an additional 50% off your first month. Pound 250, keyword save now, and you can be switched over in seconds. Anyway, from our friends at Pure Talk Wireless by Americans for Americans in Alaska, in Anchorage. The summit has officially begun. Hasn't stopped yet. That's a good sign.